Hello again, it's Becca. It's Thursday and we've been snowed in for 4 days now and I'm kind of losing my mind. But the nice thing is I had a little time to do some extra reading and relax a little bit this week. So I hope everybody has stayed warm. So we're talking about culturally responsive education and basically it's a framework or a way of viewing school, understanding that the school grows and the students grow and transform when you allow your students to inform the education to a certain extent. It's more than that, but that's kind of the first thing I wanted to talk about. I went to school in an urban district right outside of Washington, D.C., and just had absolutely amazing experiences. Just very diverse. It was like basically 1/3 white, 1/3 black, 1/3 Hispanic, and 10%, well, there was like, I guess it was 30, 30, 30, and 10% everything else under the sun you can imagine, including lots of diplomats' kids, so kids from all over the world, bureaucrats' kids, the children of senators, and but there was a lot of poverty as well. It was such a great, rich mix, and it has just truly informed my whole framework on life. And I truly believe that I'm so lucky to have had that experience. And when I'm not from Grand Rapids, when we moved here, I specifically wanted to buy a house in the city so that my kids would go to Grand Rapids public schools. And that has been a great decision. And my oldest son has graduated now from high school, and he has even thanked me for giving him this experience, because the thing is that you can really get a good education anywhere. And especially if you're a family of means and a family that's educated, maybe there are things GRPS doesn't provide that other school districts do provide, wealthier districts, but we have the means to know where those holes are and fill them. What we don't have the ability to do is to give our kids all access to all of these other cultures, and just different, unique ways of living. So I'm kind of bouncing here. I'm going to bounce over to another personal thing, which is that it has bothered me for a very long time that women are not addressed in history, except for like Betsy Ross or Martha Washington. I have had for a very long time this little wish or desire to build a curriculum around women's history using literature to infuse the teachings, I guess. So it would be sort of like history / English literature, but it would specifically focus on women, but not just white women, but all women of different cultures. So Native American women, the experiences of being a Black woman in America, so on and so forth. Now I've come to a place where, it always did bother me to think, well, this is just going to be one class, because that's ridiculous. It's hard to know where this could go. I learned a lot about differentiation, and I think maybe this is something that could be like an extra sort of curriculum I could write that could be used at every level to use along with the curriculum that you're given by the school for history, because most of our textbooks are still pretty white male driven. And, there's maybe these little one-offs like Eli Whitney, here's this Black guy that invented this thing. And, but other than that, slavery and, Jim Crow, and it's just not right. And then you don't get a whole lot more until Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. And, and not even really much of Malcolm X, but let's see. How can it be implemented? So that's the sort of the tricky part. You want to make sure of that achievement gap in your school, You want to make sure that you're promoting opportunities for all of your students in an equitable way. Let's see, you want to challenge the status quo. I mean, that's my whole plan is to do a lot of challenging of the status quo. And, right, I've talked about this before. Right now I do that through the books that I select for my Read-GR program. There has been, fortunately, an influx of books written recently about like girls in science. Like there are books about Katherine Johnson, Mae Jemison, who was the first African-American woman in space. It's kind of mixed on whether the kids take that, but usually if I feature it, they will. So that's what I'm doing with Read-GR. But as a classroom teacher or from within the school community, I think it's all about, not all about, but it's partially about seeing your population, working with the kids from your classroom to make your curriculum relevant to them. You need to do that anyway. If you're going to be an effective teacher, you need to reach kids on a personal level. So, it's that relationship component, understanding, where they come from, what's important to them outside the school community. I keep using the word infusing, but just bringing that into the classroom and making your curriculum come alive with the experiences of the students that you have. That said, if I'm in a school that end up being all, I can't imagine I would, but an all-white school and, East Grand Rapids or whatever, it's still extremely important for kids to receive that education about other cultures. And so that same curriculum needs to be brought in. And maybe it's more challenging in a way because you don't have, those kids that are actually living those experiences. So then you're looking at a whole other set of ways that you need to educate kids about other cultures. And then you're talking about field trips and you're talking about guest speakers and, a lot of people do the, what's your ancestry and bring in some sauerkraut and whatever, sausages. You got to go deeper than that. That's just not enough. We have this great big melting pot, and I think we're so lucky. And that's also what causes a lot of strife. But having gone to the school district that I did and living in this environment where, my friends were, I had a friend who was a refugee who walked from El Salvador to the United States when he was 10. And by the time he was 18, we graduated. He had been accepted to Cornell. He now lives in England. He's married to a British woman, very successful. And that's just one example. It's my prom date was immigrated from Saudi Arabia. My TV just went on. It was such a culturally rich experience, and it makes me sad that not everybody gets to have that. So I'm passionate about it, and I could really talk a lot about it, but I don't want to go on anymore. So hope everybody has been staying warm and has a great weekend.